All right, it's still morning time. I was almost said good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. Mike Paciello. I'm here with CSUN AT TV, and we welcome you to the very first of what will be a week-long full of sessions. Every morning, we'll have sessions that are called, we call them live stream sessions. In fact, all of the sessions are being recorded live stream, just as FYI. But these sessions, as we start this morning, will be the presenters presenting their materials and talking on topics of interest. In the afternoon, each afternoon, we'll have fireside chats. Those will be more facilitated conversations. So as I introduce myself, Mike Paciello with AudioEye and WebAble, and my colleague Dave Gardy will also be one of the other hosts here from TV Worldwide. Our first live stream session this morning is with Rick Johnson and Ann Scallon. They'll be presenting material from their theme, Breaking Down Barriers to Knowledge and Learning. So, Ann with TPG.
Thanks, Mike.
One second. I'm sorry, it's TPG little I.
Thanks, Mike. Great, everything's working. So welcome, everybody, to our talk this morning on breaking down barriers to knowledge and learning. I'm delighted to be joined by Rick Johnson, who's the VP of Accessibility and Solutions Engineering at VitalSource. And we're going to be talking today about how we're working together to advance VitalSource's accessibility maturity and all of the different things that we're doing together. So I'm just going to quickly introduce myself. So I'm Ann Scallon. I'm an expert services practice manager at TPGI. And I think you're seeing now a photograph of myself on screen. So this photograph is taken in my natural habitat, which is the southwest of Ireland. And in it, I'm looking to the right. The sun is on my face. There's water behind me and some trees. And this is Lough Ine in Cork, where I swim a lot. So I enjoy doing that in my spare time. And when I'm not swimming a lot, I'm managing expert services at TPGI. So what do we do in expert services? Well, we pretty much do anything that we think will help our clients to advance their accessibility. That might mean a lot of the things that I'm going to describe that we do with VitalSource, so agile consulting, training, all sorts of different things. But basically, we do any intervention that we think will help our clients. It could be embedded resources or anything else that we think will make a difference. And in fact, on Thursday morning, our Chief Accessibility Officer, David Sloan, and myself will be presenting some case studies on things that we have done with our various clients to advance accessibility. And that'll be in the Vispero suite just next door. So if you're interested in finding out more about, different things that we in TPGI Expert Services can do to help clients, please do come along. Okay, so the next slide I'm showing is the W3C draft accessibility maturity model. So many of you will probably be familiar with this. It's basically a curve running along two axes. The x-axis or the horizontal axis describes core competencies and activities in accessibility, and the vertical axis describes accessibility maturity and the ROI. So I just want to talk quickly through this model. It's, as I said, it's in draft form from the W3C, and it's looking at accessibility maturity organizationally across a number of dimensions, 7 dimensions in total. And they run from culture and communications through to ICD development life cycles. And so there's a number of proof points per dimension. And if you meet all of those proof points, you can be shown to be level 3, fully optimized in terms of your accessibility maturity. So the accessibility maturity runs from level 0, inactive, which is where an organization has no awareness or recognition of their need for accessibility, through level 1, called launched, where an organization has a recognized need. Planning has been initiated, but activities are not yet well organized. Then it moves on to level 2, integrated, obviously depending on what the organization is doing. They're moving forward in terms of the maturity. They will have a roadmap in place. They'll have their overall organizational approach defined and running effectively. And then the Holy Grail, level 3, optimized. This is where accessibility is incorporated into the whole organization, consistently evaluated with actions taken on outcomes. So it doesn't mean that everything that the organization has put out is fully accessible, but it means that organizationally they are moving everything they can to that state. Obviously it's fairly iterative, and I'm showing on this slide a star to represent where we think VitalSource is in terms of this model. So they're tending very closely to the optimized level. And I wouldn't say we can say yet that they are fully optimized because we haven't been through all the proof points on all of the different dimensions. But from working with VitalSource for the last 5 years, we feel pretty confident in saying that their level of accessibility maturity is very, very high. Okay. So how do they achieve this? This is what I'm going to run through quickly. Just some of the things that we've noticed that really help VitalSource get to this almost optimized level of accessibility maturity. They've got a VP of accessibility. He's sitting right here, Rick Johnson. And between Rick and various other key members at VitalSource, including Stacey Ray, who's a senior project manager there, they have a passion for accessibility that's clearly discernible. Accessibility never comes second. They try to integrate it into everything that they do. They have an ongoing and very active partnership with ourselves. And the way that's organized is that they have a consultancy contract with a set number of hours per month, and it's on a use it or lose it basis. And that, I think, is really important in the sense that it means accessibility is never left to drift to the end of a development. It's never left to drift to the end of any of their cycles. We are actively working on a monthly basis. They've got a dedicated team at TPGI, and I've got some of them here, Ian Lloyd, and David Sloan is there, and we've got Wesley Estes, who is at the conference. I'm not sure if he's here. And basically, we build skill set in that team so that they're very closely aligned with our VitalSource partners, and they understand exactly what's going on. They understand the processes of VitalSource, and they can help to react to those, to respond to those, and to influence those. And I think that's key. They have an annual, at least, I say at least, because often we do things more regularly when new features are released. So an annual review of their suite of products and new feature reviews. So this is key. VitalSource will come to us at design stage with new features that they're developing, and we'll give them their input then, before any issues can move further down the development life cycle. They have regular VPAT updates, so there's an annual update at least, and VitalSource obviously try and fit that in with the academic schedule, so coming out in the fall. But you know, it's not completely tightly linked to that. If we've got something that we want to release before then, we can do so. And they've got shared tracking systems. So Ian and Wes and different members of our team will actually be active in VitalSource's Jira. So they'll be creating issue tickets in the Jira. They'll be responding to VitalSource teams' comments in the Jira, and they'll be helping them to move things forward in a very agile fashion. And VitalSource have access to TPGI's ARC, the Accessibility Resource Center. So they can find out a lot more there if they're not getting what they need from different, or if one of us is not available, they can find out things there. And then last but not least, they have customized training, which is tweaked to exactly their needs to ensure that they're always building accessibility knowledge and skills within their team. So that's a lot about what we do with VitalSource. What are we going to do next? Well, we're going to continue what we're doing and do more of it. And we are also going to, this year, do a big focus on the EAA, and that's what Rick is going to talk about next. So I'm going to hand you over to Rick.
Thank you, Ann. So, as she mentioned, I'm Rick Johnson, one of the co-founders of VitalSource. Been very involved in the accessibility community for couple of decades now in terms of what we're trying to do and how we're really trying to drive this into all of our user base. We have about 22 million users around the world, 241 different countries and territories. So a lot of people that we are in front of. And I'm going to talk about sort of our philosophy and how TPGI has really helped us to deliver this. See some of my credentials on the screen. One of the contributors to the EPUB standard, one of the contributors to the EPUB accessibility standard, served on a number of different committees with the W3C and other areas in the community and in the industry. Not here to talk about me, but here to talk about sort of what solutions we're bringing to the market. On the screen here, I have a timeline of what we have done over the years since VitalSource has been in the marketplace from 1998 on, and really adopting and showing and being recognized for some of the work that we've done. Love to talk a lot about our brag slides, but again, that's not why we're here. It's just to help you understand this has been a journey, one that we need help on, and one that TPGI has been positioned to really help us in terms of deliver what we can into the marketplace here. So what are we doing? What I want to talk about today is really what we have seen in the marketplace as a shift of focus. On the screen here is a lovely, you think, picture of an outdoor lake up in the mountains with a man holding a lens, and inside the lens everything's crystal sharp, and outside the lens it's a little blurry. There's a new focus, we believe, internationally going on right now, and as I'm sure all of you understand as well, to what's happening in the accessibility industry. Specifically here domestically, over the last couple of years, things like the Department of Justice and the Department of Ed Dear Colleague letters that went out to all the higher ed institutions, the EAA happening in Europe, the UK Equality Act, things happening in Canada with the Accessibility for Manitobans Act and the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act, the AODA. In Brazil, in Australia, there's a lot happening in this community. And when I talk about a change of focus and a shift of focus, I think there's a great quote here up on screen from Alistair McNaught in the UK that I think really drives a lot of the change that we see happening right now in the industry. And that is, the more mature legislation and laws become, the less that it requires the existence of disabled people to justify good practices. What does he mean by that? It means we are putting the onus on the people who are delivering the products, ourselves and others, to do the right things and deliver this into the marketplace, and shifts that focus away from the abilities or disabilities of the user to who's creating the product and the service. This is really important for VitalSource because as we are focused on the learning community, especially in higher education, there's some interesting things that are happening in the industry, in the marketplace right now. I've got on the screen a quote from the WHO that did a study a couple years ago. I'm sure we've heard all these numbers before, that there's 1 billion people worldwide that have a disability. But the interesting thing in this quote here is that although there's a significant number in the undergrad and the graduate marketplace, it says 19% undergrad, 12% graduate, among those in higher ed who have a disability, only about 37% of them actually told their institution and sought help from their institution. 2/3 of the users, 2/3 of people with a disability in higher education are trying to solve this themselves. They're trying to not self-identify, to solve this themselves, find out what's available, and that's the key thing that needs to be solved, to bring to the market the ability for people to understand what's happening in the market and how can I get the solutions that I need. So what we're doing with TPGI's help is addressing this in 3 areas. I talk about this as my 3 Ds. On the screen, I talk about discovery. This is the key area. How do I find what's out there to know that it's even there? I talk about disclosure. How do I, as a vendor, tell you what I'm doing, that you can trust it in a way that doesn't cast doubt, that you don't understand what we're doing or why we're doing it. And then debt. How do we fix the problems that are out there? Let me start with debt first. This is where TPGI, as Ann talked about, really shines and really helps us in the marketplace with this iterative process of we design, we develop it, it gets reviewed, it gets audited, and it gets sent back to the development team as much as needed to make sure that what we deliver is the best practice and a highly functional product. And we design it from the beginning with assistive technologies as a part of the design process, making sure that we're testing against the things in the market that users are using. Debt provides us with a way to solve the problems we know. The way that we know that we have problems is disclosure. This is the audits that TPGI is doing for us, focused on holding our feet to the fire to make sure what we are telling the public is true, to make sure what we're telling the public is accurate, and that we're not making something up as a vendor. One of the things that's, because we have a long history, as I mentioned in our earlier timeline, in the marketplace here, since 1998 in terms of delivering products, our information about what we're doing has been somewhat scattered. And we're very excited, actually starting yesterday, we rolled out a new site where we'll be gathering all of the information around our accessibility in one location. The appropriately named accessibility.vitalsource.com website. And if I go to that now and take a look at that, this is where all of the information, all of the VPAT reports, all of the ACR reports, keyboard shortcuts, any helps that we can provide to the community, along with a brand new accessibility statement that they helped us to create. This accessibility statement is a very thorough document telling you what we're doing in all of our applications, telling you what to expect from us, telling you what we're bringing to the market and how to provide feedback, how to provide complaints, how to provide issues. Even going to the bottom here in terms of talking about how we approach hiring, and that we hire people with disabilities, we hire people that help us solve these problems in-house, and what our approach is to that. So we're very proud of this accessibility statement. It will be linked from every single one of our applications and our websites over the coming year so that any user in any part of our platform can find this and know what we're doing and understand what we've committed to into the marketplace. Also, as a part of disclosure, as I mentioned, linking this in from all the different applications, but also providing a way for users to give us that feedback and that capability. The third area is where I want to spend a little more time talking about, and that's discovery, because there's some exciting things happening in the marketplace that you may or may not be aware of. I know at least one person in the audience, George, I see sitting out there, is very aware of this. He's helping create some of these standards along with the work that we're doing. And this is really required by a lot of the legislation that I talked about earlier. And you can't do this, you can't enable discovery without good metadata. And we have to be able to provide that metadata in a way that people understand. And what do I mean by that? Well, again, back to a quote on the screen here. There's an interesting study done when we started working on this in 2017 that said, you can have well-designed and inclusive ebooks that address the barriers that students may have with print disabilities, but if they can't find them, what good is it? If they don't know they're out there, if they don't know, will this solve my problem before I buy it, what good is it? If I'm an instructor and I'm choosing to adopt something and I don't know it's going to solve the issues for my students, how do I find that information? A couple of points that came out in the study I have up here on the screen. Existing guidelines mean little to those who matter. Accessibility guidelines are already in existence, but usually people don't understand them. What does this mean and how do I work with this? And then one of the most interesting stats out of this study was 96.9% of people. You don't get 96.9% of people to agree on anything if the sky's blue. I mean, that many people agree on what's happening in terms of anything, but they all agreed that ebook suppliers, now this is me, that I need to provide better accessibility information. So how do we do that? We started in 2019 working with the W3C again on a standard that's called the User Experience Guide for Displaying Accessibility Metadata. Okay, this was how do we solve that problem of showing people what's in the book as early as possible. This was a very technical spec, showed a lot of detailed information. We put it into our store, we started displaying information wherever we could, providing all the detailed information. We won a couple of awards for it, which we're very proud of. The 2019 DAISY Consortium Award for Accessibility in Publishing was one of them that we're very proud of. I saw Richard here earlier as he was coming through the room. But there was a problem here in that people didn't know, how do I trust what's out there? How do I know what's out there? How do I make sense of what's out there? Another solution that came to the marketplace at that same time frame, that if you are around on Friday, there's a great session on, I'd encourage you to attend, talking about certification of this. Can an independent body certify this information so we know it's true, so we know that what the publisher is claiming is factual, so we know that it's complete? The Benetech globally certified accessible program has been a phenomenal success in terms of bringing that certification out there so that people can know what are they saying and how do I trust that information. But we still had a problem. Up here on the screen, I illustrate the problem. You know, how can an instructor who's adopting a textbook, how can a course designer who's creating a course, how can a student who's deciding on digital versus print, how can a parent buying a textbook for the child know what some of this information means? I have an example on the screen here that I love to talk about. Access mode sufficient equals textual. George knows what that means. I defy, there's probably not very many people in this room that know what that actually means and how to apply that to solving a remediation, solving a need that I have. How do we take these technical terms and transform them into understandable concepts? Well, access mode sufficient is a part of something known as non-visual reading, text-to-speech, audio, read aloud, that type of thing. That's what this is talking about. And so there's a new spec that's being worked on. It's nearly final. I encourage you to get involved if you want at the W3C. It is helping to create both detailed and concise statements about what these things mean. As an example here on the screen, I have a part of that spec, again, around non-visual reading. And you can see that there's two examples, descriptive explanations like all content is available for reading using computer-generated speech and refreshable Braille. That's great. That tells the user, what can this do? What can this support? Or a concise version of that, reading or readable using computer-generated audio and electronic Braille. So this information can then get presented to the user in a way that makes sense. And I, as a vendor, can take advantage of this through the workflow. I've got a complex diagram on the screen here that let me explain and talk through. In the digital publication ecosystem, okay, publishers making books, there are two ways to get this information out into the marketplace. There's this very effective, very useful supply chain method where they deliver something called an Onyx file, which is just a description of the book and deals with things, everything from pricing to accessibility in terms of availability there. Or you can embed it inside the file. And this is optional and preferred for EPUB files. You actually use the metadata and put it inside the file so it travels with the file. I, as a vendor, get that file. I know what the markup is here. And there's these display technique documents that help me translate from that detailed example that I gave you before about access mode sufficient equals textual. How do I get from that to the statement that I read to understand what it means? And that is this user interface guide, the new version that's coming out at the bottom here. So these flows all come together in a consistent way to give you that information. So what does that look like? Let me give you an example. What I've got on the screen here is what's called a wireframe. It's a prototype of some future version of our application that's going to be coming out over the next year. And what you see here is a number of different books. These are books that would be in my application for reading. In this case, most of them are higher ed, tending towards things along in the health science area. That's where we do a lot of work. And you'll notice if you're looking at the screen here that at the bottom, and again, this is readable by screen readers where they can see this information. I can see that this first book, this medical surgical book, it says, hey, there's some accessibility claims that have been made about this book. I can see it right up front before I even make the decision of what I'm going to do or how I'm going to use this. If I click on that, I get a little detail page on the right. Well, there's these areas that I talked about before, these 9 areas of helping me describe what's happening with that metadata. Things like visual adjustments and non-visual reading, and is there conformance or certification about this? Are there hazards in here, like things flashing or blinking? And I can expand this so that I see again now those statements that I referenced before that are consistent, that have meaning to me. They aren't highly technical, but they let me understand, oh, hey, this one's been certified by Benetech. It's conforming to WCAG AA. It supports non-visual reading as all content is accessible and generated read-aloud speech. So I see this information now as I'm using the product built right into the application. Another example here. I'm an instructor making a decision on what do I want to adopt, or I'm a student buying something in the store. Here's an example of a future version of what could be our storefront. If you take a look, I've got, in this example, a search at the top here in the upper left for nursing. So I'm seeing nursing titles. And now I have the ability on the left-hand side here to have some filters. And one of them are these accessibility claims. I can say, well, I only want to see books that help me with non-visual reading, or see things that declare conformance or certification. Or in this case, I'll just click on anything. It has some accessibility claim. Let me see that. And then again, I can go inside and click on that and see the detailed information that we showed you before. Before I purchase, before I make the adoption decision, I've got that information up front now, so I can see what's going on. This is incredibly empowering to learners and to instructors everywhere, so that I know this information up front, and the publishing industry is just getting behind this and driving this information out, partly because there's legislation to enforce this, partly because now the tools are there to be able to do it, and the standards are there, and the systems are there to be able to do things like certification, like GCA from Benetech. We're very excited about this and what it brings to the marketplace. We're excited as well about our partnership with TPGI to be able to, as I mentioned before, hold our feet to the fire. It's what we're doing actually solving the problem. It's what we're doing actually communicating correctly what's out there, and they hold our feet to the fire. They are a trusted ally in accessibility and help us navigate a lot of this complexity. They helped us create that accessibility statement that I showed you before. They've helped us understand how we need to approach some of these problems. And as we grow and expand where we're applying this, they have the ability to scale and to integrate, as Ann talked about earlier, with our team at a very deep level, right into our bug reporting systems, right into our design systems and our meetings, and able to handle the load that we can bring to them. And we're very trusting of what they can provide and bring to us. And then probably most importantly to me is they share a vision and they help us align our expectations. When you get your expectations out of whack of what can be done or what you want to do and it doesn't align with your vision, they help guide us and they help show us how we can address the marketplace and bring these things to the market. So we're proud to be a partner with TPGI. We're really excited about what we're going to be bringing to the marketplace with some of those things like the discovery that I showed you with the metadata. We're very excited about some of the standards that are coming out. Get involved if you can, help create the standards. Standards are made by those people who show up. So show up, help us make the standards and bring that into the marketplace. And I think at this point we can ask any questions or open it up for other dialogue. Yes, ma'am.
I teach high school, usually very high school students, and what I'm seeing problems with is standardized tests. Are you guys moving anywhere towards helping students with standardized tests?
So the question was high school teacher and standardized tests, and are we helping move things forward with standardized testing? So we as a distributor in getting things to the market take what the publishers provide, okay? And we are very excited about what's happened around textbooks and what's happened around content in that form. We see the same lead coming around things like the testing environments and such, where they can apply these standards. WCAG's a great standard for the testing environments right now. If it supports that, we bring it into our system, we bring that to the marketplace, absolutely. And we work with the publishers to make sure that we can tell you ahead of time if it does or not, if that compliance is there. So it's encouraging the change that's come. Any other questions? Sir.
Hi, I'm actually one of Ann's coworkers, just so you get context from me.
Okay.
But I have two wildly diverse questions. The first of all is, I can't remember if it was Ann or you that mentioned it, talked about the use it or lose it model.
Yeah.
I understand from our perspective, it's great for resource scheduling when we understand, 20 hours a month or whatever it is, for X amount of months. How is that of real benefit to your organization to know, hey, we've got this much availability of specialized resources to help you? How do you build a business case for that?
It goes to our mindset. What it does is it tells us we need a regular cadence, we need regular involvement. If we don't use the amount that we've allocated that month so we lose it, which we've never done, I think we've always done more and had an extra cycle there. But it provides that extra impetus for that cadence and that regularity that we can use. And it's enormously beneficial for us, absolutely. Didn't expect that question, yeah.
Hi.
Sure.
I had a quick question on the scalability aspect of it. Let's say, for example, tomorrow VitalSource grows into a much larger organization with another 50,000 people working with you. How does TPGI handle, and what kind of challenges does TPGI face from a scalability perspective of scaling your services to handle, what the growth that VitalSource has?
Okay, thanks. If I understand the question correctly, correctly, you're asking if VitalSource came to us and needed a lot more help, how can we scale quickly? Okay, I think a lot of it is dependent on ongoing dialogue. You know, we are speaking very closely on an ongoing basis. We meet with VitalSource weekly. So something like this is never going to come as a huge surprise to us, and I think that's the key. You know, we've got our capacity model planned on the set number of hours per month, but through our ongoing dialogue, we'll know if something else is coming. And in fact, we're expecting that this year. You know, Rick and I and other members of my team have already been in conversation about new things that Rick's team want to get going this year. You know, and we're looking at things that we need to get completed by the end of 2024. So I'm already looking at how are we going to build capacity. You know, it never comes as a surprise. And I think that's one of the key benefits to both organizations from the kind of partnership that we have.
I would just add, we don't view them as a vendor, okay? We didn't hire them as a vendor, they're a partner. And partners communicate, and you just gotta have that communication and anticipation. Well, if you do have other questions, we'll be here. Oh, George.
So I don't know if it came out in the presentation, but EAA will go fully into effect on June 28th, 2025. And the requirements are that all the digital books that are sold must be accessible. And the accessibility metadata must be present so that people can know what's going on. So that legal requirement that you can't sell it unless it's accessible, unless you're explaining to people what the accessibility is so powerful, and it's got the publishing industry in the United States and North America and all over the world that sell into the European market, impacting all products that are being sold in the United States and Europe. So that power is something I wanted people to understand.
It's worth reiterating those 3 points that George mentioned there. I, as a vendor, my storefront has to be accessible, okay? My applications you're going to use to read the book has to be accessible. The book itself has to be marked up and accessible. And then there's actually a fourth, as George alluded to there, the discovery process. I have to be able to discover the accessibility about books by searching this metadata and finding it ahead of time. Enforcement starts on the 28th of June, 2025. We all know that date by heart in this industry. I tell people, I don't know what enforcement's going to look like. Like any legal system, we don't understand exactly how it's going to be interpreted until there's case law in the books. But what I do know is that I want VitalSource, and I want my partners, and I want my customers to be the example held up in those cases saying, why didn't you do it like this? You know, we want to be ahead of the curve and making sure that we're doing things exactly or beyond what is expected there. Did you have one more question? Yeah. The microphone's coming there.
I might have noted this incorrectly, but I thought you said 2/3 of college students do not self-identify as having a disability. Did I get that correct?
37% of college students that have a disability identify to the institution. So nearly 2/3 don't identify that have a disability.
So
not students as a whole, but those that have a disability.
Right,
Yeah.
so what that tells me is, and I'm just talking off the top of my head here, is that there's some stigma associated with self-identifying. Is that a problem that
It's
the
either
larger group here needs to solve?
What I'm hearing is it's either stigma or it's functionality. If I do it, what will I get? How do I solve this? I want to solve this myself. It's something along those lines, exactly. What I do know is providing more information is going to help those people, absolutely.
Thank you.
There's one question in the back of the room.
Is that a U.S. number?
That number, in fact, I'll bring up the quote here. It's from the WHO, so I assume it's worldwide. There's the link to the study, where it's cited from. All right, well, Ann and I will be down front here. If you have other questions or want to talk to us individually, thank you so much for coming and hearing our story.